Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I read in September. As you can see by the thumbnail and the title, I read 11 books. I killed the reading game this month. I broke through my reading slump. I got through almost all of the books on my TBR, except for the new releases. And if I didn't finish a book that was on my TBR, I'm currently reading it, which you will see in my TBR on Monday. Or if you follow me on Goodreads, you would know the 3 books that I'm currently reading. So yeah, I have a lot of books to talk about. I got comfy. You should get comfy. I had a pretty good reading month with ratings, so I just want to talk about them all. Not only did I have a good reading month, I had a good blogging month. So because I don't want to get annoying and redundant, I did review every book that I'm talking about today with the exception of one because it was a sequel. So I will just link my blog generally down below. So if there's one that you want to hear more thoughts on, or even all of them, it's all in one convenient link for you. So yeah. Let's get right into the books. The first book that I read in September was Dancing with Molly by Lena Horowitz. This is a young adult contemporary realistic fiction about a young girl, we never know her name, who gets into drugs. She does good in school, she has good friends, she would never try drugs. But of course, one of her friends brings Molly to a party and she has to try it. The novel just kind of went downhill from there. If you watched my unhaul video, you would know this was on that list. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I did not like it. I do not recommend it. It was very cliche and basic. And yeah, not a fan. I read City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This took me forever to read, but I did really enjoy every second of it. I put it down once I was about halfway through, and I struggled picking it back up because I was in a slump and I had all these other books that I wanted to read. But once I got back into it, I flew through it. It's getting so exciting being through the 3rd book in a 6-book series because you are watching the plot and the characters develop and you are building these relationships with them. And because I've never been spoiled on anything in the series, so thank you. But I just know there's a lot of death getting near the end of the series, so I'm like constantly wondering when it's coming and who it's going to be, and not wanting to get too attached, but I just naturally get attached to characters. So I'm really excited to see where this story goes, and I'm glad I'm enjoying it as much as everyone said I would. This month I actually read 2 review books. The first one was Welcome Home, edited by Eric Smith. This is an anthology of adoption stories. So I received this as an e-arc from NetGalley, but I loved it so much that I decided to purchase my own physical copy for my shelves. So like I said, this is an anthology about all different kinds of adoption stories, and I really, really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a very well-rounded story and a well-rounded collection. Some I loved more than others. As you will see in my full review, I rated each story individually, but for the most part, I gave it 3.5 because that's what all of my ratings averaged out to. So I just rounded it up to a 4 because I did generally enjoy the reading experience. I love anthologies, and I don't read a lot about adoption, so I was thankful that I actually discovered a lot of new authors I want to read more from. So I think that's one of the best things about anthologies, is that it kind of opens doors to other authors, and in this case they were all young adult authors, but all ones that I've already marked want to read for some of their other novels, so enjoyed. I read Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Ermintrout because September marked 3 years since I purchased this book, so I figured it was about time I read it, and I'm so glad I did. I loved it. It was probably my favorite book of the month. I'm still thinking about it. This is a young adult thriller about a girl named Sam who loses her memory. She can't remember herself, she can't remember her family or her friends. She also can't remember what happened to her best friend Cassie that went missing with her and still hasn't been found. So through this novel, we go through watching her trying to recollect her memories and figure out who she was before, because she was not a nice girl before. So everyone assumes she had something to do with killing her best friend, but she can't justify it because she doesn't remember. So yeah, because we have an unreliable narrator, we don't know which of the characters to trust. So it was a really thrilling reading experience, and it was very engaging. And like I said, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm currently reading The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, which is slightly similar in the sense that our main character can't really remember what happened, and is still being like haunted by that past, but this is not supernatural. But yeah, so I'm like constantly comparing these two because I'm still thinking about this one. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would totally recommend it. did I say I gave that 5 stars? Because I gave that 5 stars. So for September, our year-a-thon theme was standalones, and then the challenge was one-word titles. So I read that one as part of the standalone theme, but I picked up this one, Shooter by Carolyn Pignat, for the one-word title. I didn't like this one. I was quite disappointed. It was also on my unhaul list for fall. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It is a young adult, almost indirectly, about a school shooting. So the novel takes place during that time, and there is like a countdown that is leading up to what you imagine is going to be the big climax, but it wasn't even that big of a deal, which was disappointing. I felt like it was a very poor representation of the seriousness of these kinds of events, because the students that were locked in the bathroom, whose perspectives we read from, didn't take the event seriously. So I don't think it was an accurate representation of the fear that students would feel and the thoughts that would be running through their mind. And instead, I don't know, it was all just very cliche and dramatic and petty high school senior drama. So I was really disappointed with that. I still love these kinds of novels. This one just didn't do it for me. I read The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This one I added to my Goodreads so long ago. And I went into it not knowing anything about what it was about. But it is a young adult contemporary following a boy named Junior who lives on a reservation and one day decides he kind of wants to explore the horizons and get off the reservation and kind of see what else life has to offer him. He doesn't want to end up walking in his parents' shoes because they're poor and they're not happy, and he kind of just wants to explore life a little bit. So he ends up going off reservation to a predominantly white school. So this novel is very short and it has artwork in it. But it mostly just describes his cultural battles and his identity stuff. And I really enjoyed it. It was a very quick read that came highly recommended to me, and I think for a really good reason. So it was very good and diverse, and like I said, a quick read. So I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I also read Confess by Colleen Hoover, and I was quite disappointed with this one. I think I hyped myself up too much for this novel. I picked it up because it was a standalone and a one-word title, so it fit the year-a-thon theme. But I was also so sure that Colleen Hoover could do no wrong for me and that I would love all of her books. But this one I didn't love. So this is a new adult romance following Audrey and Owen, who meet over a job at an art studio. Art is included in the novel, kind of just collected randomly in the middle, not throughout or anything. But obviously the physical attraction is too much for these characters to handle when they develop a relationship, but they both have a backstory and they both have problems and they both have secrets, hence the title, Confess. And I don't know, it was kind of cliche, but it was still a fast, addicting read. My biggest issue with this novel is the lack of connection I had to any of the characters. While reading a romance, it is a character-driven novel and I just didn't get that. I thought Owen was kind of a jerk and kind of shady. I thought Audrey was kind of dramatic. Did she have reason? Yes. Did they both end up growing in the end? Yes, which is why I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I couldn't rate it any more than that because it was just okay for me. There wasn't anything outstanding, and honestly I've already kind of forgotten how it ends, and I've only read this like 2 weeks ago, so yeah, kind of disappointed. So moving this way a little bit so I can put a picture up here, I read The Suicide Fluent by Emma Clapperton. This is an interesting story. It is an adult short story, almost a novella, that introduces you to characters later found in a series she wrote. So you can read it as a short story, or it's also like the introduction to a series. So I thought the idea of this was like brilliant, because you can read this 85-page story, get a basic for the plot and what the series is about, figure out if you like the characters. And yeah, so because it was so short, I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I am interested in picking up the series. So the series is kind of about a guy, I don't remember his name, but he works as a medium. He can communicate with the dead. So in this short story, he works with a family trying to figure out what happened to a young boy, I think he was 8 years old, that died, and the father was blamed for his murder. So yeah, it was good. Like I said, it was engaging. I read it on break at work and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So because it was technically fall, but it was still 38 degrees, I decided to pick up some darker reads anyway, one of them being Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McWright. This one came recommended to me from my friend Geraldine, so thank you, Geraldine. I did really enjoy this novel. It is an adult thriller told across different medias, so we get like regular stories, we get Facebook posts, we get text messages, we get a lot of different outlets because it is also told from multiple perspectives. So the main ones that we follow are Amelia, who is the young girl that has committed suicide, so we think, and then also Kate, her mother, who is trying to reconnect the pieces of her murder. So, or suicide. That's not spoiling anything. The general plot of this novel is that Kate gets a call from her 15-year-old daughter's school saying that she cheated on a test and that she needed to come pick her up from being suspended. And then when Kate gets to the school, she finds out that her daughter has jumped off of the roof of the building and killed herself. So Kate doesn't believe Amelia would be capable of killing herself. She had a good connection with her daughter and she knows she wasn't depressed or anything like that. So she takes it upon herself to kind of open this investigation as a murder investigation, and we go across different timelines and different people, and yeah, so you just kind of put it all together. The ending did surprise me. I was thrown off by a couple things, mostly by how involved Kate was allowed to get in the police investigation. Just from a criminology perspective, it seems like it would kind of be a conflict of interest, but I don't know. I still enjoyed it. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I read The Unquiet Past by Kelly Armstrong. I finally read a Kelly Armstrong novel thanks to many recommendations from my friend Carrie. So thank you, sis. I really enjoyed this novel. And I think what I'm excited most about this novel and talking about is that it is a part of a 7-book series, but you can read the books in any order as each novel was written by a different author, and that just blows my mind. So I think that's a brilliant way to publishing them all. They all came out on the same day, just all written by different authors, and the whole idea was kind of constructed by one of my favorite authors, Eric Walters. So probably going to save his book for last. I haven't decided in what order I'm going to read these, but I'm going to continue this series because I loved this. So in this novel, we follow a third-person writing style from Tess. So she is a 17-year-old orphan who was living in this home in Ontario when it burned to the ground. So now she's on a mission to kind of discover her past, which leads her to an abandoned mental asylum in Montreal. So it is a Canadian novel written by a Canadian author, and that made me so excited reading about all of these places she was traveling, like Toronto and Montreal, knowing I've traveled through there and that I'm in Toronto all the time. So it was just really exciting to read. So she does go on a couple journeys, and it was really spooky. It was very psychological. I would totally recommend this one for Halloween. It was very short and a quick read. I read it in a day. I'm going to stop talking about it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Loved it. So moving back over here so that I can show you the last book that I read this month. Yes, you made it to the end of my very long wrap-up. Thank you for sticking with me. I read We All Fall Down by Natalie D. Richards. This is the other book that I received as an e-arc from NetGalley. So thank you, NetGalley. In this novel, we follow 2 characters, Theo and Paige. They are best friends, but also secretly have romantic feelings for each other, but are sure that they are not reciprocated because, as most teenagers do, they refuse to talk about it. So they just live in blissful ignorance, pining after the other. But yeah, one night, as Paige is trying to get over her feelings and Theo is about to tell Paige about his feelings, they get drunk and they get dramatic, and a fight ensues among Theo and another guy, and Theo ends up accidentally punching Paige in the face. It's not a spoiler. It is constantly reminded throughout the novel and is also like within the first chapter and in the summary on Goodreads. So this novel I was really excited to read when I requested it, and then really excited to get approved for, but it really let me down. So we deal with the physical abuse, but then both of these characters also have severe mental illnesses. So I felt like it was almost constantly reminding the reader that Theo hit her and that he was ADD and that Paige was very anxious. Like, it was just constant. And as many of you know, I am manic depressive, so I understand the bipolar tendencies, and I am a very manic person. I just felt like it was too much, and it was clear that the author did research on mental illness, but I felt like she was trying to overcompensate in order to get her point across. And at some points it was just way too much, that I felt like it took away from what the plot of the novel was, which was just moving past the event and building that relationship back and coming to terms with everything. I felt like that totally overtook it. And then as well, she added kind of a supernatural aspect that I think the novel would have been better off without, in my opinion. So yeah, I gave this novel 2.5 out of 5 stars because I thought it had some good underlying plots, but overall it was just too much of everything. It comes out on Tuesday, October 3rd, so if it sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to check it out, or like I said, I did write a full review. So it just wasn't my cup of tea, and that happens. So yeah, those were the 11 books that I read in September. What a month. I hope to continue it into October, which you will see my very ambitious TBR on Monday. Just because I'm currently reading 3 books that are all rather large, and I want to finish those, plus get into all of my other spooky thriller books for October. So yeah, make sure you let me know what you read in September, what your favorite book of the month was. If you read any of the books that I talked about, make sure you let me know down in the comments and we can share our opinions together. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you on Monday. Bye.